Yo, good evening, USA, and happy Memorial Day to every single one of you out there repping USA, International, Canada, Long Island, aka Strong Island, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. And allow me to reintroduce myself. This is your man G Money Stacks, aka the Greginator, YouTuber, host with the most misunderstood, lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, Queens, New York native, and rookie podcaster of Laurelton, Queens, New York. And you're rocking and hanging out with the 119th episode of Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast review show. I do apologize for the long delays of the future episode recordings and stuff like that. Been going through some stuff, life wise, and and bullshit wise as far as like a white chocolate Karen, which I'm not gonna get into this shit right now. So um without further ado, if you are new to the channel and you miss any previous episodes whatsoever, we're live and direct from StreamYard alongside with YouTube. And of course, aside myself is the Instagram live feed. So turn on your notifications on the gram so you could know when each episode and when I'm going to be on Instagram live on Instagram as well. So if anybody that's watching or listen or viewing this on Instagram live or on YouTube, you're more than welcome to actually join the Instagram live feed. All you have to do is send a request to the Instagram live feed of the podcast show page, and and I will I will get you in to the live stream. All right. So, as far as like chiming in on some topics and everything like that, so that's pretty that's pretty much what I wanted to actually mention here. If you like to be featured in the Instagram live feed or the StreamYard live feed, please let me know through the DM, which is G Money Stacks 5 in Queens, New York on the gram, and of course I will be glad to send you an invite link on on StreamYard so you can know which topics that's going to be talked about and reviewed and stuff. So you know, so you get the hang of it. So speaking of the YouTube channel page, grab that subscribe button for me on the Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast channel page. Tap the noni bell along with the alerts so you can be reminded of when the show goes on the air via live stream, along with the date and time and of the podcast live stream recording. And leave a like and a comment along with the episodes. And of course, be sure to share the videos, share the episodes, listen, stream, and watch these episodes in case you miss any of them whatsoever. And of course, be sure to download the episodes. Very important. Tell a friend to another friend, and I will handle where you can listen to the episodes at the end of this show right here. Um, and I hope y'all out there are having a nice Memorial Day weekend and everything else in between with the barbecues and all that other stuff, which I know most people usually do barbecues on the 4th of July as usual. Um, so yeah, there you have it right there. Um, okay, so let's get into some music Kool-Aid. We got some hip hop history to get into right here. Um, just bear with me here. Yeah, just bear with me right here, man. Just bear with me. All right, here it is. Music Kool-Aid. Let's get into it right about now. This is pertaining to some not only music discographies, but it's also some hip hop history, which I decided to add this to this segment right here. So There it is right there, man. Here we go. Okay, here we are. We're gonna be talking about De La Soul. So here it is. We're gonna be talking about De La Soul and hip hop history. And wait for this plane to pass. Okay, here we are. 34 years ago, De La Soul dropped their LP called 3 Feet High and Rising. And and on this day in 1989, the iconic trio De La Soul released an album that would change the course of hip hop forever. Off Tommy Boy Records, De La Soul's debut album, 3 Feet High and Rising, set the standard for what rap should and would sound like. Along with producer Prince Paul, the group crafted a sonic landscape of sampled songs, sounds, and snippets unheard of before in hip hop, where most producers sampled other either James Brown or P Funk. De La, De La and producer Paul were borrowing from recordings by an unlikely host of artists usually not affiliated with hip hop sampling like Johnny Cash, Hall and Oates, Otis Redding, the Turtles, and a French language instructional record. 3 Feet High and Rising also introduced the skit concept, which is now almost too prevalent on rap albums. 3 Feet High and Rising also spawned hits and raps classics like Me, Myself, and I, Potholes in My Lawn, Plug Tuning, Buddy, Say No Go, The Magic Number, and I Know. The album's funky and dreamy 1960s and 1970s inspired attitude, coupled with the group's concept of the Daisy Age, an acronym for the inner sound y'all, caused people to inaccurately refer to the group as hippies. Now, why the fuck was somebody called De La Soul hippies? That's just beyond fucking me. That's just beyond me, man. The- oh shit. So the album's diverse subject matter, which tackles things like poverty, individualism, drug abuse, love, materialism, commercialism, and hip hop cliches, as spoken about on the track Take It Off, caused many to label it rap's first intellectual album. 3 Feet High and Rising would also feature other members of the musical collective the group was a part of, called the Native Tongues, with guest appearances by Charcoal Quest, the Jungle Brothers, and Moni Love. 3 Feet and Rising is one of the most influential albums in music history. Salute to Posdanis, Maceo, and Trugoy the Dove, who passed away last month, for giving fans such an important piece of hip hop history. Damn, SIP to Trigon. Trig, True. Wait, hold on. Yes, Trugoy. Yes. Okay, another hip hop history news. Let's get into let's get into Dr. Dre. All right. So yes, 28 years ago, Dr. Dre dropped "Keep Their Hands Ringing" from the Friday soundtrack, and on this day in 1995, Dr. Dre and producer Sam Sneed put together the lead single "Keep Their Hands Ringing" from Silver Screen Hood favorite Friday. Within 2 months, the Death Row Records' own single was certified gold and appeared on Death Row's greatest hits just a year later. The F. Gary Gray directed video of the single features Friday cast members Faison Love, Big Worm, Chris Tucker, Smokey, and Neil Long, ending with Chris Tucker and Faison Love taking the plane flying away from the police. Shout out to the Doctor and Sam Sneed for cooking this classic hit for a timeless flick. So salute. Okay. All right. Let's see. Yes, so today's episode is called "These Are the Streets of the Classic Games," and we're gonna be reviewing some of your classic games like Streets of Rage 2, 3, and 4. And before we do that, we're gonna get into we're gonna get into some movies to go over actually. So let's get into hang on a second here. Hang on one second. Um yes, the Chillax Man Cave Popcorn Lounge. Let's get into it right here. right. Let's get into this right here. We have some movies to go over today, and we are going to start with. All right, hold on a second. Wait a minute. We're gonna start with Mad Max. Hold on a second. We're gonna start with Mad Max Fury Road. I didn't even know there was a sequel to this shit though, but I don't know. But anyway, let's get into it right here after this plane pass. Hold on. Okay, here we go. We're gonna get into Mad Max right now. So, Mad Max Fury Road is a 2015 Australian post-apocalyptic action film, co-written, co-produced, and directed by George Miller. Miller collaborated with Brendan McCarthy and Nico um, Latharis on the screenplay. The fourth installment in the Mad Max franchise. It was produced by Village Roadshow Pictures, Kennedy Miller Mitchell, and Rat Pack Dune Entertainment, and distributed by Roadshow Entertainment in Australia and by Warner Brothers Pictures internationally. The film stars Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron and Nicholas Hoult, Hugh Keys Byrne, Rosie Huntington Whiteley, Riley Keough, Zoe Kravitz, Abby Lee, and Courtney Eaton in supporting roles. Set in a post uh, post-apocalyptic desert wasteland where petrol and water are scarce commodities, Free Road follows Max um, Rockatansky, who joins forces with Imperator Furiosa against cult leader Immortan Joe and his army, leading to a lengthy road battle. Okay, so here it is. Um, so the budget for the movie, if I'm not mistaken, um, hang on. Okay, um, so the budget for this movie is 154.6 to $185.1 million. Ain't that something? That's pretty dope though. Hold on a second. Okay. So Miller came up with the idea of Fury Road in 1987, but the film spent many years in development hell before pre-production began in 1998. Attempts to shoot the film in the 2000s were delayed numerous times due to the September 11 attacks, the Iraq War, and controversy surrounding the star Mel Gibson, leading leading Miller to recast Gibson's role of Max um, Rockatansky. Miller decided to pursue the film again in 2007 after the release of his animated comedy film Happy Feet. In 2009, Miller announced that filming would begin in early 2011. Hardy was cast as Max in June 2010, with production planned to begin that November. Principal photography was delayed several more times before it actually began in July 2022. No, excuse me, 2012. The film wrapped in December 2012, although additional footage was shot in November 2013. Fury Road premiered in Los Angeles on May 7, 2015, and was released in Australia on May 14th. It grossed $415.2 million at the worldwide box office, making it the highest grossing Mad Max film. But it is estimated to have incurred overall losses of 20 to between 20 to $40 million when all of the advertising and other costs are added to its 154.6 to $185.1 million production budget. The film was praised by critics for its direction, writing, action sequences, musical score, technical aspects, and performances. It won Best Film from the National Board of Review and was also named one of the top 10 films of 2015 by the American Film Institute. The film was nominated for 10 awards at the 88th Academy Awards, winning six and received numerous other accolades. Retrospectively, the film has been called one of the greatest action films of all time and one of the best films of the 2010s. Following a pay dispute between Warner Brothers and Miller that delayed early efforts to produce follow-up projects, a prequel, Furiosa, is set for release on May 24th, 2024, with Miller returning as writer and director. Okay, let's get to reception. All right, so Mad Max Fury Road grossed $154.1 million in the United States and Canada and $261.1 million in other countries for a worldwide total of $415.2 million against a production budget of 154.6 to 185.1 million dollars. While the film made a profit, it did not quite meet its expectations. The Hollywood Reporter calculated that the loss incurred by the film was around 20 to $40 million. In the United States and Canada, the film was released in 3,702 theaters the same weekend as Pitch Perfect 2. It earned $16.77 million in its opening day, which included $3.7 million from Thursday night screenings at 3,000 theaters. The film grossed $45.4 million its opening weekend, finishing in second at the box office behind Pitch Perfect 2 and $69.2 million. Several critics have called Mad Max Fury Road one of the greatest action films ever made. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 97% of 437 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 8.60 out of 10. The website's critic consensus reads, in quote, with exhilarating action and a surprising amount of narrative heft, Mad Max Fury Road brings George Miller's post-apocalyptic franchise roaring vigorously back to life. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 90 out of 100 based on 51 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B plus on an A plus to F scale. Um, Robbie Collin of the Daily Telegraph gave the film a full 5 stars and praised its acting, screenplay, choreography, stunts, humor, and direction, describing it as a um, Krakatoan Krakatoan eruption of craziness. Oh shit. Oh shit. Peter Oh shit. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian um awarded it 4 out of 5 stars and wrote that it is extravagantly deranged, ear splitting, cacophonous, and entirely over the top, a bizarre convoy chase action thriller in the post apocalyptic desert. Lindsay Barr of the Associated Press described the film as radically visionary. IGN reviewer Scott Calora gave the film 9.2 out of 10, writing in quote, the over the top stunts and eccentric characters and designs are all hugely important to Fury Road, as are the troubled figures like Max himself and Furiosa. But it's the overriding sense of the film's uniqueness. It's striving to be something more than just another action movie. Another action movie that is most impressive. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 4 out of 4 stars and wrote that Tehran and Hardy are one of the best action duos ever in one of the best action movies. Similarly, Rolling Stone's Peter Travers called the film a new action classic and gave particular praise of its editing, costumes, and soundtrack. Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote a mixed review praising the cinematography of Tehran's performance, but describing the film as a long, dull chase. The film has been praised by scholars on several fronts. Women's studies scholars have praised the dominant role taken by Furiosa and the range of atypical female roles, including the wives and the gun-toting um, Vuvala- Vuvalini. And disability studies scholars have commended its positive, non-stigmatizing portrayals of physical and psychological disabilities. Okay, accolades. At the 88th Academy Awards. Hold on. Okay, accolades. At the 88th Academy Awards, Mad Max Fury Road received nominations for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, and Best Visual Effects, and won Best Film Editing, Best Production Design, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing. Its six awards were more than any other film at the year's ceremony and set a new record for the most wins by an Australian film. The film's other nominations include seven British Academy Film Awards, winning four, 13 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, excuse me, winning nine. Yes, 13 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, winning nine, and two Golden Globe Awards. It won Best Film at the National Board of Review Awards 2015 and was named one of the 10 best films of 2015 by the American Film Institute. Let me see who's in here. Okay, shouts to Matthew Lawrence. I see you right there. Okay. Listed on over 170 film critics top 10 list for 2015, including 58 first place rankings and 26 second place rankings. The film topped Metacritic's tally of film critics year and best film list, and it was also named Rotten Tomatoes best scoring film of 2015. It was voted the 19th greatest film of the 21st century in a 2016 BBC Critics poll. Was named the 19th best film of the 21st century so far by the New York Times in 2017, and was voted the best film of the 21st century by Empire in January 2020. The film appeared on numerous best films of the decade lists. It was ranked first on the AV Club Critics the 100 best movies of the 2010s, third on Variety's the best films of the decade, and ninth on the Hollywood Reporter's the 10 best films of the decade. It also appeared on the New York Times the 10 most influential films of the decade and 20 other favorites. Wired's the 24 absolute best movies of the 2010s, and the Los Angeles Times the best movies of the decade. Kenneth Turan and Justin Chang's essential picks. In Metacritic's tally of lists of the best films of the decade, Fury Road appeared on and topped more lists than any other film, with 20 critics placing it at number one. Okay, I did see it was. I didn't even know there was a sequel to this shit. Though, hold on. Um, wait a minute here. Wait a minute here. Okay, it's a prequel, not a sequel. Wait, yeah, it's a prequel and sequel. Not sure what this is, but not sure what this is though. But I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put Furiosa on hold. I'll put this on hold, man, and then just let's go to the next film. We're gonna go to the next film, which is Drive. All right, so Drive is a 2011 American action drama film directed by Nicholas um Winding Refn. The screenplay, written by Hossein Amini, is based on James Salas's 2005 novel of the same name. The film stars Ryan Gosling as an unnamed Hollywood stunt driver who moonlights as a getaway driver. He quickly grows fond of his neighbor Irene, played by Carrie Mulligan, and her young son ben, Benicio. When her debt ridden husband, Standard, played by Oscar Isaac, is released from prison, the two men take part in what turns out to be a botched $1 million heist that endangers the lives of everyone involved. The film co stars Brian Cranston, Christina Hendricks, Ron Perlman, and Albert Brooks. Wow. Okay, so producers Mark Platt and Adam Siegel optioned the source novel after Siegel read a review from Publishers Weekly. Adapting the book proved to be challenging for Amini as it had a non-linear narrative. Gosling, one of Platt's top casting choices, eventually signed on for the lead as he wanted to star in an action-oriented project. Gosling played a pivotal role in the film's production, which included hiring Refn as director and Beth Mickle as production designer. Newton Thomas Siegel oversaw the principal photography, which started on September 25th, 2010, was shot on location in various parts of Los Angeles, and ended on November 12th. Before its September 2011 release, Drive had been shown at a number of film festivals, including the 2011 Cannes Film Festival, where it received a standing ovation. Refn won the festival's Best Director award. The film was praised for its direction, cinematography, performances, visuals, action sequences, and musical score. However, some critics were appalled by its graphic violence and found that potentially detrimental to the film's box office success. Nonetheless, the film was still a commercial success, grossing $81 million against a production budget of $15 million. Wow. Yes, hang on. Several critics listed Drive as one of the best films of 2011, including the National Board of Review. Its honors include a nomination for Best Sound Editing at the 84th Academy Awards. The movie is considered as a man. I'm gonna call it a classic. I'm not. I don't even want to say cult anymore, man. This shit is so fucking ridiculous. This shit is so fucking ridiculous. I don't even want to talk about that shit though. Um. Anyway, so music. So the soundtrack to the movie Drive. Um Refn chose Johnny Jewel of Desire and Chromatics to score the film. The album consists of songs blended of electronic, ambient, and retro music. Although Jules' music was used in the score at the last minute, the studio hired composer Cliff Martinez to imitate the style and feel of Jules' bands. Refn gave him a sampling of songs he liked and asked Martinez to emulate the sound, resulting in a kind of retro 80-ish synthesizer Europop. Most of the um most of its ethereal electronic pop score was composed by Martinez. The score contains tracks with vintage keyboards and bluntly descriptive titles. Drive is the emotion is the original motion picture soundtrack was released on CD on September 19th, 2011 by Lakeshore Records. Prior to that, owing to viral reviews such as those found on Twitter, the soundtrack sold well on iTunes, climbing as high as number 4 on the sales charts. The album was released on vinyl in June 2012 by Mondo. It received it received positive response and peaked the soundtrack list from Billboard, an official charts company, while also peaked at 30th position on the US Billboard 200. A rescored soundtrack for the film was produced for the BBC by Zane Lowe for its television broadcast in October 2014, which included original music from Churches, Banks, but still Eric 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 Prids, Being Me, The Horizon, the 1975, and Laura um Anv- Anvula, of course, SBTRKT. In September 2016, Lakeshore and Evada Records released a fifth anniversary special edition pressing of the soundtrack, featuring new liner notes and artwork. That same month, Johnny Jewel, College, Electric Youth, and Cliff Martinez discussed the impact of the soundtrack and film on their lives and contemporary music culture. Jewel told Aaron Velling that Drive's blend of sonic and visual nostalgia with a contemporary spin is always deadly. The soundtrack was listed on Spin Magazine's list of 40 movie soundtracks that change alternative music. Prior to the beginning, principal photography, Refn went to the 2010 Cannes Film Festival to sell the rights to Drive and release promotional posters for the film. In November 2010, Film District acquired North American distribution rights. Um, The owners were so eager to get their hands on Drive, they started negotiating to buy it before seeing any footage, believing it could appeal to people who enjoy a genre movie as well as the art house crowd. The film had a release date of September 16, 2011 in the United States. The film premiered on May 20th in competition at the 2011 Cannes Film Festival. At its first showing, the film received abundant praise and some of the best responses of the film. No, excuse me, of the festival. But Zan Brooks of The Guardian, who gave it a positive review, said it can't win, won't win Cannes top prize. Brooks explained that it's too self-consciously retro, too much a series of cool blank surfaces as opposed to a rounded textured drama, but said that it was his guilty pleasure of the 2011 competition, labeling it an enjoyable affair. He said, over the past 10 days, we've witnessed great art and potent social commentary. The birth, of the cosmos and the end of the world. Turns out that turns out what we really wanted all along was a scene in which a man gets his head stomped in a lift. They welcomed it in like a long lost relation. The film was greeted with hoots and howls of joy from the media, with viewers cheering on some of the sources featuring extreme violence. Drive received a 15-minute standing ovation from the crowd. The festival awarded Refn Best Director for Drive. Drive was screened at the Los Angeles Film Festival on June 20th at its gala screenings program. It was among more than 200 feature films, short projects, and music videos from more than 30 countries to be shown during the festival. After Red Dog's release date was pushed up by several days, Drive replaced it as the Melbourne International Film Festival's closing night film. The film was also screened during Film District's studio panel presentation at the San Diego Comic Con function. A secret screening for Drive was held at London's Empire Big Screen during the middle of August. In September, Drive screened as a special presentation during the 2011 Toronto International Film Festival alongside another film starring Gosling in The Ides of March. Okay. Okay, critical response. Here we go. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reports an approval rating of 93% based on 270 reviews and an average rating of 8.30 out of 10. The site's critical consensus states with its hyper stylized blend of violence, music, and striking imagery, Drive represents a fully realized vision of art house action. Metacritic, another review aggregator, gave it a score of 78 out of 100 based on 43 critics indicating generally favorable reviews. It was one of the highest ranked and most featured films on critics' year and top 10 list. It ranked as fourth best film of the year behind The Tree of Life, The Artist, and um, Melancholia on Metacritic's tally of top 10 lists. Drive was picked as the best film of the year by Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times, James Rachi of Box Office, Joshua Rothkopf of Time Out New York, Neil Miller of Film School Rejects, Mark Russell of the Oregonian, and a staff critic from Empire Magazine. The writers for the film magazine Empire listed Drive as their number one film of 2021. No, excuse me, 2011. Excuse me. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, declaring that Drive was a brilliant piece of nasty business and that Refn is a virtuoso, blending tough and tender with such uncanny skill that he deservedly won the Best Director prize at Cannes. Travers also said, prepared to be blown away by Albert Brooks. Brooks' performance vein with dark humor and chilling menace. Watch him with a blade deserves to have Oscar calling. The Wall Street Journal's Joe Morgenstern also praised Brooks's performance, calling his villainous performance sensational. James Rachi of the playlist gave the film an A letter grade and wrote that Drive works as a great demonstration of how, when there's true talent behind the camera, entertainment and art are not enemies but allies. Rocky um placed Drive as his number one film of 2011. Movie Lines Stephanie um, Zakaric rated the film 9.5 out of 10, complimenting the film's action and writing that it defies all the current trends in mainstream action filmmaking. The driving sequences are shot and edited with a surgeon's clarity and precision. Refn doesn't chop up the action to fool us into thinking it's more exciting than it is. She also admired Refn's skill in handling the film's violence and the understated romance between Gosling and Mulligan. Drive was Roger Ebert's seventh best film of 2011. In praising the film, he wrote, "Here is a movie with respect for writing, acting, and craft. It was It has respect for knowledgeable moviegoers like Zachariah Ebert admired the film's action sequences, which were practically made and did not rely on CGI effects. Anthony Lane wrote in the New Yorker that Drive's violence was far too graphic, and this untimely, no, excuse me, ultimately was a detriment to the film. Referring to the violence, he said, in grabbing our attention, he diverts it from what matters. The horror lingers and seeps the feelings are sponged away. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune felt similarly and said that although he enjoyed the film in the early sections, it became one garishly sadistic set piece after another. Philip thought the film relied too much on stylistic preening and did not have enough substance. I don't know about all that, but I don't know about all that, but I will actually be I didn't get a chance to see Drive, but it might be worth watching, so we'll see. Um Hold on, folks. I gotta do something. Wait a second here. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I had to take care of the Instagram live feed. Apparently, I don't know why it was trying to end so quick, but um, but anyway, man, I think I'm gonna have to. Let me just continue. Hold on, let me just do a little recap. Yeah, I'm gonna do a little recap for the people that's actually watching on Instagram live. Um, so so basically we were just reviewing the rated R movie Drive by Ryan Gosling, and basically it is a 2011 act. American action drama film directed by Nicholas Winding Refn. The screenplay, written by Hossein Amini, is based on James Salas's 2005 novel of the same name. The film stars Ryan Gosling as an unnamed Hollywood stunt driver who moonlights as a getaway driver. He quickly grows fond of his neighbor Irene Carey Mulligan and her young son Benicio. Um, yeah, Benicio. Um, when her um with her debt-ridden husband Standard, played by Oscar Isaac, is released from prison. The two men take part in what turns out to be a botched $1 million heist that endangers the lives of everyone involved. The film co-stars Bryan Cranston, Christina Hendricks, Ron Perlman, and Albert Brooks. Um, and Producers Mark Platt and Adam Siegel optioned the source novel after Siegel read a review from Publishers Weekly. Adapting the book proved to be challenging for Amini as it had a non-linear narrative. Gosling, one of the Platt's top casting choices, eventually signed on for the lead as he wanted to star in an action-oriented project. Gosling played a pivotal role in the film's production, which included hiring Refn as director and Beth Mickle as production designer. Newton Thomas Siegel oversaw the principal photography, which started on September 25th, 2010. Was shot on location in various parts of Los Angeles and ended on November 12th. Before its September 2011 release, Drive um, had been shown at a number of film festivals, including the 2011 Cannes Film Festival, where it received a standing ovation. Refn won the festival's Best Director award, and film was praised for its direction, cinematography, performances, um, visuals, and action sequences and musical score. However, some critics were appalled by its graphic violence and found that potentially detrimental to the film's box office success. Nonetheless, the film was still a commercial success, grossing $81 million against a production budget of $15 million. Several critics listed Drive as one of the best films of 2011, including the National Board review. Its honors include a nomination for Best Sound Editing at the 84th Academy Awards. The movie is considered a classic film. Yeah, I don't want to say cult anymore, man. It just sounds so negative to me. Yeah. All right. So we went over the music soundtrack and who's included, actually, and this is basically include um by Lakeshore Records. This was so um reference shows Johnny Jewel of Desire and Chromatics who to score the film. The album consists of songs blended of electronic, ambient, and retro music. Although Jewel's music was used in the score at the last minute, the studio hired composer Cliff Martinez to imitate the style and feel of Jules' bands. Refn gave him a sampling of songs he liked and asked Martinez to emulate the sound, resulting in a kind of retro 80ish synthesizer Europop. Most of his ethereal electronic pop score was composed by Martinez. The score contains tracks with vintage keyboards and bluntly descriptive titles. Drive, um, the rated R movie, with the soundtrack was released on CD on September 19th, 2011 by Lakeshore Records. Prior to that, owing to viral reviews such as those found on Twitter. The soundtrack sold well on iTunes, climbing as high as number 4 on the sales chart. The album was released on vinyl in June 2012 by Mondo. It received positive response and peaked the soundtrack list from Billboard and official charts company, while also peaked at 30th position on the US Billboard 200. A little quick recap before I continue. Actually, we actually reviewed two music artists in hip hop history of the music Kool-Aid segment. I already talked about De La Soul, and I already talked about Dr. Dre, whose song was featured on the Friday soundtrack, and everything else in between. If you, in case you missed any of the stuff that was talked about, I do apologize for the Instagram live feed for cutting so early. I don't know why, but I decided to start it all over. So here we are. Yeah, all right. So so let's see. Let's see. Um so the album was released on vinyl on June 2012 by Mondo. It received positive response and peaked the soundtrack list from Billboard and official charts company, while also peaked at 30th position on the US Billboard 200. A rescored soundtrack for the film was produced by the BBC by Zane Lowe for its television broadcast in October 2014, which included original music from Churches, Banks, Bastille, Eric Pritz, SBTRKT, Bring Me the Horizon, the 1975, and Laura Mvula. In September 2016, Lakeshore and Nevada Records released a fifth anniversary edition, special edition pressing of the soundtrack, featuring new liner notes and artwork. That same month, Johnny Jewel, College, Electric, Youth, and Cliff Martinez discussed the impact of the soundtrack and film on their lives and contemporary music culture. Jewel told Aaron Velling that Dry's blend of sonic and visual nostalgia with a contemporary spin is always deadly. The soundtrack was listed on Spin magazine's list of 40 movie soundtracks that changed alternative music. And prior to the beginning, principal photography reference went to the 2010 Cannes Film Festival to sell the rights to Drive and release promotional posters for the film. In November 2010, Film District acquired the North American distribution rights. The owner was were so eager to get their hands on Drive, they started negotiating to buy it before seeing any footage, believing it could appeal to people who enjoy a genre movie as well as the art house crowd. The film had a release date of September 16th, 2011 in the United States. The film premiered on May 20th in competition at the 2011 Cannes Film Festival. At its first showing, the film received abundant praise and some of the best responses of the festival. Excuse me. But Zan Brooks of The Guardian, who gave it a positive review, said it won't win Cannes' top prize. Brooks explained that it's too self-consciously retro, too much a series of cool blank surfaces as opposed to a rounded textured drama, but said that it was his guilty pleasure of the 2011 competition, labeling it an enjoyable affair. He said, um over the past 10 days, we've witnessed great art and potent social commentary, the birth of the cosmos and the end of the world. Turns out what we really wanted all along was a scene in which a man gets his head stomped in a lift. They welcomed it in like a long lost relation. Now I don't know about too self-consciously retro too much series of cool blank surfaces. I'm not too sure about all that, but come on, man, like seriously. Um Look, as film creators and directors, filmmakers and all that other stuff, you're not gonna be able to please every single film critic, okay? You're not gonna be able to do that. It's look, just do the best you can, do the best you can with the storyline and everything else in between, and everything will fall into one place. So don't worry about the stupid critics. All right. Just give yourself some credit, man. That's all I gotta say on that one. Okay, so the film was greeted with hoots and howls of joy from the media, with viewers cheering on some of the scenes featuring extreme violence. Drive received a 15-minute standing ovation from the crowd. The festival awarded Refn Best Director for Drive. Drive was screened at the Los Angeles Film Festival on June 20th at its gala screenings program. It was among more than 200 feature films, short projects, and music videos from more than 30 countries to be shown during the festival. After Red Dog's release date was pushed up by several days. Drive replaced it as the Melbourne International Film Festival's closing night film. The film was also screened during Film District's studio panel presentation at the San Diego Comic Con function. A secret screening for Drive was held at London's Empire Big Screen during the middle of August. In September, Drive screened as a special presentation during the 2011 Toronto International Film Festival alongside another film starring Gosling in The Ides of March. Okay, we go to the reception of the critical response. Review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes reports an approval rating of 93% based on 270, 270 reviews and an average rating of 8.30 out of 10. The site's critical consensus states with its hyper stylized blend of violence, music, and striking imagery, Drive represents a fully realized vision of art house action. Metacritic, another review aggregator, gave it a score of 78 out of 100 based on the 43 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. It was one of the highest ranked and most featured films on critics' year and top 10 lists. It ranked as fourth best film of the year behind The Tree of Life, The Artist, and Melancholia on Metacritic's tally of the top 10 list. Drive was picked as the best film of the year by Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times, James Rocky of Box Office, Joshua um, Rothkopf of Time Out New York, Neil Miller of Film School Rejects, um, Mark Russell of the Oregonian, and a staff critic from Empire Magazine. The writers for the film magazine Empire listed Drive as their number one film of 2011. Peter Travers of Rolling Stone gave the film 4 out of 4 stars, declaring that Drive was a brilliant piece of nasty business and that Refn is a virtuoso, blending tough and tender with such uncanny skill that he deservedly won the Best Director prize at Cannes. Travers also said, "Prepare to be blown away by Albert Brooks. Brooks' performance, vein with dark humor and chilling menace. Watch him with a blade. Deserves to have Oscar calling." Wall Street Journal's Joe Morgenstern also praised Brooks's performance, calling his villainous performance sensational. James Rocky of the playlist gave the film an A letter grade and wrote that Drive works as a great demonstration of how, when there's true talent behind the camera, entertainment and art are not enemies but allies. Rocky placed Drive as his number one film of 2011. Movie Lines Stephanie Zacharek rated the film 9.5 out of 10, complimenting the film's action and writing that it defies all the current trends in mainstream action filming. The driving sequences are shot and edited with a surgeon's clarity and precision. Refn doesn't chop up the action to fool us into thinking it's more exciting than it is. She also admired reference skill in handling the film's violence and the understated romance between Gosling and Mulligan. Drive was Roger Ebert's seventh best film of 2011. In praising the film, he wrote, "Here is a movie with respect for writing, acting, and craft. It has respect for knowledgeable moviegoers like Zacharek. Ebert admired the film's action sequences, which were particularly made and did not rely on CGI effects. Anthony Lane wrote in The New Yorker that Drive's violence was far too graphic, and this ultimately was a detriment to the film. Referring to the violence, he said, "In grabbing our attention, he diverts it from what matters. The horror lingers and seeps. The feelings are sponged away." Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune felt similarly and said that although he enjoyed the film in the early sections, it became one garishly sadistic set piece after another. Phillips thought the film relied too much on stylistic preening and did not have enough substance. Don't know about that one right there. In 2014, the Huffington Post included Drive on its list of 8 movies from the last 15 years that are super overrated. With Bill Bradley criticizing the low amount of dialogue by Gosling's character and writing that Ruffin spends all 100 minutes trying to convince you that he has a cool iPod playlist. Complex magazine criticized the film for whitewashing the character of Irene, who was a Latina in the source novel. Audiences polled by Cinema Score gave the film a score of C minus. This was attributed to audiences feeling tricked, having expected more driving actions based on the marketing. Okay, so thinking back, there isn't really all that much driving in Drive. A couple of chase scenes here and there, staged efficiently, thrillingly. It's more about the questionable choices that drive people and ultimately the ones that drive them away. Associated Press reporter Christy Lemire. Hmm. Andrew O'Hare of Salon magazine just described Drive as a classic Los Angeles heist gone wrong story that isn't trying to outdo Bullet or get the next assignment in the Fast and the Furious franchise. O'Hare also described homages to Roger Corman's B movie aesthetic and the glossy Hollywood spectacles of Michael Mann. Steven Zaitchik of the Los Angeles Times examined themes in the characters of loyalty, loneliness, and the dark impulses that rise up even when we try our hardest to suppress them. Reuters' Nick Vin- Vinokur described a series of cosmic gore resulting in a bizarre concoction reminiscent of David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction, and with angst-laden love scenes that would not be out of place in a Scandinavian drama. Christopher Hawthorne, um, also from the Los Angeles Times, has compared it to the works of Walter Hill, John Carpenter, Nathaniel West, J.G. Ballard, and Mike Davis. According to Reference, Drive is dedicated to filmmakers Alejandro Jodorowsky and includes shades of Jodorowsky's um existent existentialism. Drive has been described as a tough, hard-edged neo-noir art house feature, extremely violent and very stylish, with European art and grindhouse influences. Drive also refers to 1970s and 1980s classic hits such as The Day of the Locust, 1975, and To Live and Die in LA, 1985. Other influences can be seen in the neo bright opening credits and the retro song picks, a mix of tension, ratcheting, synthesizer tones, and catchy club anthems, and collectively give the film its consistent tone. Drive's title sequence is Hot Pink, which was inspired by Risky Business in 1983. Refn has also indicated that the film's romance was partly inspired by the films of writer director John Hughes. Reference inspiration for Drive came partly from reading Grimm's fairy tales, and his goal was to make a fairy tale that takes Los Angeles as the background with the driver as the hero. To play with the common theme of fairy tales, the driver protects what is good while at the same time killing degenerate people in violent ways. Reference said Drive turns into a superhero film during the elevator scene when the driver kills the villain. The director said he was also inspired by films such as Point Blank, 1967, Two Lane Black Dr- no Two Lane Black Top, 1971, The Driver, 1978, and The Thief, 1981. Jean Pierre's Melville's crime productions influenced the cinematography. Um, Amini's script imposes a kind of sideways moral code where even those who comply with it are almost never rewarded for their efforts, as seen when the driver helps Standard because of concern for Irene and her son. In their vehicles, the characters not only make escapes or commit murder, but try to find peace and search for romance. The driver has been compared to the man with no name, a character Clint Eastwood portrayed in the Sergio Leone Western because he almost never speaks, communicating mostly non-verbally. The driver's meager dialogue is not designed to present him as tough, but to soften him. Refn chose to give the driver very little dialogue and have him drive around listening to synth pop music, taking control when it counts. Peter de Bruges of Variety opined that what the driver lacks in psychology, he makes up through action and stylish costuming. The driver's wardrobe, in particular, the satin jacket with the logo of a golden scorpion on the back, was inspired by the band Kiss and Kenneth um, Anger's 1964 experimental film Scorpion Rising. Reference sees the former as the character's armor and the logo as a sign of protection. According to to reviewer Peter Canavis, the jacket is a reference to the fable of the scorpion and the frog mentioned in the film, which evokes its use in the Orson Welles film Mr. Arcading. Driver would later serve as a major influence for many elements of the 2012 game Hotline Miami, including the minimalist plot, use of dialogue, portrayal of violence, and musical style. Okay, box office. Drive grossed between 78.1 to 81.4 million dollars worldwide. In North America, the film grossed a total of 35.1 million dollars. The film opened in North America earning 11.3 million dollars on the weekend of September 16th, 2011, and played at 2,866 theaters. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of C minus on an A plus to F scale. It was one of the four wide releases that opened that weekend and came in second. The other three through the other three new releases included the re-release of The Lion King on 3D, which was the top film, along with the Straw Dogs remake and the romantic comedy I Don't Know How She Does It. The film closed its North American theatrical run on February 9th. In the international marketplace, Drive grossed 40 between 41.1 to 46.3 million dollars. The film had its highest grossing box office in France, where it earned a total of 10.3 million dollars, which is okay, so it's 13.3 million dollars. It opened in France on the weekend on October 5th, 2011 at 246 theaters, eventually expanding to 360. The film opened in second place and had the highest per screen theater gross for the weekend, which is 13,746, 10,722 dollars. Its second highest overseas gross came in the United Kingdom, where it earned a total of $3.1 million, which is $4.6 million. Drive opened in the United Kingdom on September 27, 2011, at 176 theaters, eventually expanding to 190. The film opened in Australia on October 27 and grossed a total of $2.3 million in the country. Okay, accolades. Drive was nominated for four British Academy Film Awards, which included Best Film, the Best Direction, Best Actress in a Supporting Role, Carrie Mulligan, and Best Editing. It was one of the most nominated films by critics groups in 2011. Albert Brooks had the most critics groups nominations. Refn won the Best Director award at the 64th Cannes Film Festival. The film also received an Academy Award nomination for Best Sounding Editing. Okay. Um all right. All right, we'll get into hang on a second here. All right. All right, time for our next segment right here called the Video Game Chamber. This is where I actually review some games and some video gaming news and stuff. So just stay with me. Um Stay with me here. I am going to just stay with me here. Okay, all-time classic, Streets of Rage. I'm pretty sure many of you probably remember this game for Sega Genesis, Streets of Rage 1 and Streets of Rage 2. I didn't know there was a 3 and a 4, so we're going to go over that today. So here we go. Streets of Rage is a beat 'em up game developed and published by Sega for the Genesis. Should have said Sega Genesis in the sentence, but anyway, in 1991, players control one of three former police officers turned vigilantes who battle a crime syndicate. Streets of Rage established many conventions of the Streets of Rage series, such as two-player cooperative play and an acclaimed techno soundtrack from composer Yuzo um, Koshiro. It was ported for the Game Gear, Sega CD, and Master System, and has been re-released as part of various compilations on download services. And let's see. So it was released in Japan August 2nd, 1991, North America September 18th, 1991, and Europe October 1991. Hold on. Game Gear. Um released in Japan in November 27, 1992, North America December 31st, 1992, Europe October 18th, 1992, Master System PAL January 1st, 1993, 3Ds North America December 19th, 2013, Japan August 21st, 2013, Europe December 19th, 2013. Okay, let's go over the gameplay here. Streets of Rage is a beat 'em up feature aspects of Double Dragon and Final Fight. Players act as Adam, Axel, or Blaze, who saves the city from being overtaken by a criminal syndicate led by Mr. X. The three traverse 8 levels and all have a total of 40 moves, such as headbutts, back slams, and reverse kicks. Surrounding the landscape are weapons that can be used to attack enemies, such as knives, glass bottles, pipes, and baseball bats, and food items that increase energy, such as apples and chicken. Yum! As in Sega's previous beat 'em up, Golden Axe, enemies walk onto the screen from both sides, as well as occasionally appearing from other locations. Foes include ninjas, punks, and women in bondage, and up to 12 can appear on a screen. The player must defeat each opponent to progress through 8 locations known as rounds. With the exception of round 7, there is a boss battle at the end of every round with a disproportionately large enemy. Unlike its sequels, none of the enemies are named within the game. They are named only in the Japanese version manual, and only the bosses have a visible life bar. Players also have a limited number of special attacks that allow them to call the police and summon a police car that fires explosive, damaging all enemies on screen. The player is given one special attack per life or per level and powers up shaped like police cars, supply additional specials. Um, Lead designer Nori Yoshi Aba bolts the idea of doing a street fighting game along the lines of Final Fight and Double Dragon with Yuzo Koshiro. Oba was also influenced by action television shows such as Starsky and Hutch and the A Team. The game was designed for players to focus on preventing enemies from swarming them, as well as to work with a second player using various cooperative team moves. I already talked about the releases already. I don't need to talk about that again. Um, let's go to the reception. So, contemporary reception, publication, and score. Electronic Gaming Monthly gives it 36 out of 40. Hobby console Hobby Consolers gives it 90% of Mega Drive and 89% Game Gear. Mean Machine Sega gives it 90%. Mega Tech gives it 92% for Mega Drive. Mega Zone gives it 91 out of 100 for Mega Drive. Wizard gives it a B for Sega CD. Mega Action gives it 89% Mega Drive. Mega Play gives it 36 out of 40 Mega Drive. And retrospective reception, aggregate score, aggregator game rankings gives it 75%. Nintendo Life gives it let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stars for the Nintendo Wii. The game top the UK Mega Drive charts upon release. Streets of Rage went on to be one of the best selling Sega games as of 1992. Streets of Rage was well received. Electronic Gaming Monthly claimed it was a winner in a category that was lacking on the 16-bit Sega and a real version of Double Dragon for the Genesis. The magazine's critics were quick to call it the best fighting game of all time, making it superior to all other titles such as Final Fight. They highlighted its superb graphics, terrific interaction, huge amount of attacks, and two-player mode, and called its music funkadelic and better than Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know about that one right there, man. I don't know about that one right there. Mega Play's 4 reviewers also called it the best of all time fighting, praising the graphics, soundtrack, and described the gameplay as street fighting action at its best. Megatech magazine review said it had excellent sprites, backdrops, and brilliant music. Add in great gameplay and simultaneous two-player action, and you've got an essential buy. Mega placed the game at number 6 in its top Mega Drive games of all time, reviewing the game in Sega Arcade Classics for the Sega CD. Glenn Rubenstein wrote in 1993, it still holds up well. Megazone's Brian um, Costello magazine cited the music level backgrounds and boss fights. He called the music the most hype of all time. Its shipyard graphics the best on the consoles. He and Electronic Gaming Monthly were also amazed by the large size of the boss. Okay, let's go to we're gonna go to Legacy here. Um, we're gonna go to the Legacy. So, Streets of Rage was followed by 3 sequels: Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage 3, and Streets of Rage 4. There were four. There were plans for two further sequels, one of which was developed by Core Design for the Sega Saturn, but Sega pulled the Streets of Rage name during development after a disagreement with Core about porting it to rival formats. The game was eventually released as Fighting Force. A fourth true game in the series, Streets of Rage 4, was developed and released by Lizard Cube, Guard Crush Games, and Emu on April 30th, 2020. The comics, 3 6-part comic strip series based upon the games, appeared in Sonic the Comic in the early 1990s. Um, the first two of these were written by Mark Miller, who has since become popular writing the authority for Wildstorm and Ultimate X-Men and the Ultimate for Marvel, while the third was written by Nigel Kitching. Peter Richardson produced the artwork for all 19 episodes. These 3 stories are based on Streets of Rage 2 and do not feature Adam. A graphic novel compilation of the original five-part Streets of Rage strip was released as a book called Streets of Rage Bad City Fighters in the UK in 1994. The first story, entitled simply Streets of Rage, appeared in STC number 7 through 12, um, and involved Axel, Blaze, and Max quitting the highly corrupted police force to do more good as vigilantes, taking down Max's ex-partner, the crime lord and martial artist Hawk. Um, next, the next serial Skate story appeared in STC number 25 through 30 and introduced Skate's delinquent stepson of Murphy, a friend of Axel and his team, and one of the few honest cops left on the force, who was unwillingly drawn into joining Axel's group after his parents were killed by Mr. X. Damn. Really? Really? Yeah, that right there. Yeah, that's crazy. But let's continue. Let's continue here. Um, all right. Okay, so a special one story called The Facts of Life appeared in Sonic the Poster magazine number 7 and involved the heroes causing a racket of fighting one of the many street gangs in a sleeping neighborhood. The police arrive and arrest the thugs, as well as take the heroes to a junkyard for execution. Along the way, Axel explains why he, Blaze, and Max quit the force to a young rookie officer. At the junkyard, just as the officers are about to shoot Max, the rookie officer unlocks Blaze's handcuffs, who proceeds to beat the stuffing out of the cops, with Axel skates and following shortly, and Max following shortly. After the dust clears, the rookie officer says that he's seen the true colors of the police force and requests that Axel hit him. Axel does so until Blaze tells him to stop, and they and Max and Skates leave as dawn breaks. The third and final serial, called The Only Game in Town, appeared in STC number 41 through 46 and involved the syndicate unleashing an army of street gangs on our heroes, with the event turned into a gambling event as Mr. X opened a book based on whether or not the heroes would reach the river without being killed first. The ploy was played against the villain when Blaze bet $20,000 on her team's survival at odds of 1,000 to 1. Jeez. $20,000. Okay, $20,000. Yeah. Okay, so this third story was notable for reviewing that for his failure, the old Mr. X had been the victim of a swimming accident and had been replaced with a new one by the syndicate at story's end. Like many non Sonic stories in this magazine, the story had a cliffhanger ending, with the new Mr. X promising that he would recoup his losses and kill the heroes. As for the soundtrack, the game's soundtrack was acclaimed with several soundtrack albums being released. The soundtracks were composed by Yuzo Koshiro, another musician. Motohiro Kawashima helped on the second, providing a few tracks and making even more for the third. The three soundtrack CDs were released in all, each of which now sell for high prices at auction and in Japanese markets. When the first game's development began in 1990, Koshiro was influenced by electronic dance music, specifically house and techno, and wanted to be the among the first to introduce those sounds in video games. The soundtrack shows the influence of contemporary R&B and hip hop music. Kashira said the most important element in recreating club music sounds for the games was to emulate the timbre and percussion sounds of Roland's rhythm machines, stating that it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the sound defined the genre. Okay, so animation in 2014, Sega formed the production company Stories International and teamed up with film producer Evan um, Colfin for animated projects based on its games, with Streets of Rage one of them. Not sure if it happened, but here we go. Streets of Rage 2. This is one of the games that me and my cousin played, actually, man. And I actually played the character Skate. You know what I'm saying? So Streets of Rage 2, known as Bare Knuckles 2 in Japan, is a side-scrolling beat 'em up video game published by Sega in 1992 for the Mega Drive and Genesis. A sequel to Streets of Rage 1991, the characters Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding return, while the game also introduces two new characters, Max Thunder Hatchet, and Eddie Skate Hunter, the younger brother of Adam Hunter from the first game. Okay, so the releases it was released on Mega Drive Genesis, North America December 20th, 1992, Japan January 14th, 1993, Europe January 14th, 1993, Game Gear Japan July 23rd, 1993, North America, Europe August 1993, Master System Europe December 1993, 3Ds, Japan April 29th, 2015, and of course July July 23rd, 2015. Not sure what WW stands for, but anyway, I'm not sure what that stands for anyway. So Streets of Rage 2 was developed by an ad hoc team of several companies: Sega, Ancient, Shout Design Works, M N M M&M Software, and HIC. Ancient's Ayano Koshiro was the lead graphic designer and one of the game design planners, while her brother Yuzo Koshiro composed the music. The game was programmed by the same team as the original. Upon release, Streets of Rage 2 received critical acclaim and topped sales charts for months. The game is commonly regarded as the best entry in the series, the best beat 'em up game for the Sega Genesis, and is considered one of the greatest video games of all time. All right, let's go to the gameplay. Like the previous game, Streets of Rage 2 is a side-scrolling beat 'em up in which one or two players fight against waves of enemies while picking up weapons and items along the way. Um, Along with returning characters Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding. The game introduces two new characters: Max Thunder, a slow-moving but powerful wrestler, and Eddie Skate Hunter, known as Sammy Hunter in the Japanese release, the brother of previous games Adam Hunter, who can move around quickly with the rollerblades. In addition to standard attacks, which have been expanded from the previous game, each character can perform a unique blitz. I'm not sure why this is happening though, man. I'm sorry. Oh boy. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, folks. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on here though, man. But this is getting out of hand. All right, I do apologize for what went down with the Instagram live feed. We just went over we went over the movie Drive. We went over the movie Mad Max Fury Road, and everything else in between, and music soundtrack and everything else. And right now, we just just reviewed and talked about Streets of Rage 1. Now we on Streets of Rage 2, and we're going over the gameplay. So, like the previous game, Streets of Rage 2 is a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and which one of two players fight against waves of enemies while picking up weapons and items along the way, along with returning characters Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding. The game introduces two new characters, Max Thunder, a slow-moving but powerful wrestler, and Eddie Skate Hunter, known as Sammy Hunter in the Japanese release, the brother of previous games Hunter, Adam Hunter, who can move around quickly with his rollerblades. In addition to standard attacks, which have been expanded from previous game, each character can perform a unique blitz attack by double tapping a direction before attacking, replacing the police car attack from the previous game. Each character can perform special attacks, um, which can which can deal extra damage or attack enemies from all directions at the cost of the player's health. Along with the main campaign, two characters can also fight against each other in the game's dual mode. Um, all right, so let's go to reception. All right, so publication Beat Mega Drive gives it 34 out of 40. Consoles Plus 92%. Computer and video games 95%. Famitsu 26 out of 40. Game Fan 386 out of 400. Game Pro 5 out of 5. Game Master 88%. Hobby Consolers 93%. Joypad 93%. Joystick 94%. Mean Machine Sega 90%. Bad Influence gives it 9 stars. Mean Machines gives it 92%. Mega Play gives it 164 out of 200. Mega Tech 94%. Sega Force 93%. Sega Power 92%. Sega Pro 96%. Publication and award Game Fan Golden Mega Awards. Best game, best action, fighting game, best game music, Mega Reader Awards, best beat 'em up, Electronic Gaming Monthly, hottest video game, Babe, and sales upon release in North America. It was one of the top best selling Genesis games in 1992, and among the top 5 selling Genesis games at Babbage Babbage's for several months through March 1993. In Japan, it was the top selling Mega Drive game in January 1993 and 11th on the all formats charts in its debut week. In Europe, it was the third best selling video game between 1992 and early 1993. Below Super Mario Kart and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Let's see. And shout outs to Pedro Lopez, man. I appreciate you for viewing this right here though. Yes. So where was I? Yes. In the United Kingdom, Streets of Rage 2 debuted as the number one bestseller on all formats console game chart, as well as the Mega Drive in January 1993. On subsequent UK sale charts, it was the number 2 console game, and number 1 Mega Drive game in February. Number 2 on the all formats chart in March, and among the top 5 console games and top 3 Mega Drive games in April 1993. The Xbox Live Arcade digital version of Streets of Rage 2 sold 184,555 units on the Xbox 360 console as of 2011. As of August 2020, GameStat estimates that the game has 570,000 players on Xbox 360 and 1.5 million players on PlayStation 3. The free to play Android version, Streets of Rage 2 Classic, has received more than 1 million mobile game downloads as of 2019. Reviews. Upon release, Streets of Rage 2 received widespread critical acclaim with scores above 90% from most video game magazines at the time. In the United States, GamePro gave it a perfect score, stating that against the Final Fights and Super Double Dragons of the world, Streets of Rage 2 more than fends for itself and concluded it to be the side-scrolling Street Fighter to beat. Game fans, 4 reviewers gave it scores of 97, 95, 97, and 97. They described it as the best fighting game and best side scroll fighter they ever played, praising the gameplay, graphics, sound effects, and Yuzo Koshimo music, concluding it to be the best fighting sequel of 92. Megaplay gave it scores of 84 and 80, with the former describing it as definite one of the best games in the genre for the Genesis, while the latter criticized the special moves for giving too much strength and making the game too easy, but concluded it to be a solid 2-player game. In Japan, Famitsu gave it a score of 26 out of 40. In the United Kingdom, Computer and Video Games gave it a highly positive review, with one reviewer, Steve Keen, stating it is without doubt the finest scrolling arcade beat 'em up on any format, and that it is like taking Street Fighter 2 and dumping the characters into a horizontally shifting arcade extravaganza, and that's basically the result you get with this game. Sega Force reviewers gave it scores of 95, 93, and 92, and with one reviewer describing it as the first 16 meg 2 megabyte cartridge to grace the MD, possibly the best MD game to date, and definitely the best beat 'em up on any console, and the best thing to happen to MD owners since the rise of a certain blue hedgehog, while another described it as an awesome game, and another stated that it deserves a place in any gamer's collection. They concluded that it wipes the floor with Street Fighter 2. Okay, Mean Machines gave it a positive review, describing it as the ultimate cartridge beat 'em up on the Mega Drive, praising the graphics as superb with huge sprites and great animation and loads of enemies attacking at once, the sound and presentation as of an equally high standard, and the gameplay as superb, especially in 2-player team mode. Mean Machines Sega gave it a positive review, with one reviewer describing it as a truly arcade quality beat 'em up that beats the spots off any Neo Geo beat 'em up, and as simply the best beat 'em up you can get for a console. While another reviewer recommended that if you don't like beat 'em ups, buy it anyway because this game will convert you. They conclude it to be the greatest sequel we've seen for ages, and as certainly the best scrolling beat 'em up ever to hit a home console. British television show Bad Influence had a panel of teenagers review the game, with the boys scoring it 4 out of 5, while 5 stars, while the girls scored it a full 5 stars. Awards. Upon release, Streets of Rage 2 received the Mega Game Award from Mean Machines Sega and the Sega Force Smash Award from Sega Force. The Game Fan Golden Mega Awards gave it the awards for Best Game, Best Action Fighting Game, and Best Music Game. The Mega Reader Awards voted it the best beat 'em up of 1992. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it the award for hottest video game, Babe Blaze, in 1993. Okay, so ports of retrospective reviews. So we have game rankings. It gives Sega Genesis 88%. Metacritic gives it 89 out of 100 for 3Ds. iOS 71 out of 100, and Xbox 360 76 out of 100. Publication. Sega All Game gives Sega Genesis 5.5 stars. Um, um, and also gives 4.5 stars for SGG. Um, Nintendo Wii 4.5 stars, and the same goes with Xbox 360 4.5 stars. And SGG from computer and video games gives it 94%. Eurogamer gives Nintendo Wii and Xbox 360 8 out of 10. GameSpot 7.8 out of 10 for Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360 8 out of 10. IGN 8.5 out of 10 for Nintendo Wii, 7.3 out of 10 for Xbox 360. Mean Machines Sega gives Master System 85%, SGG 89%. Official Xbox magazine in the UK gives Xbox 360 9 out of 10. Touch Arcade gives it 4 stars. No, excuse me, 5.5 stars. Sega Power for SGG gives it 74%. Sega Pro gives it 90%. And 90% for Master System, and SGG 90%. Video games and New Zealand 94% for Sega Genesis. Okay. Streets of Rage 2 has been considered by many to be one of the best games ever made. In 2004, readers of Retro Gamer magazines voted Streets of Rage 2 as the 64th best retro game of all time, and the staff later included in their top 10 list of Mega Drive, Game Gear, and Nomad games. It has also been listed as one of the best games ever made by publications such as Stuff, um, and as one of the greatest retro games by sites such as Now Gamer and BuzzFeed. And the music, the game soundtrack also received a positive reception for its techno-based chip tune tracks, which impressed many gamers and critics at the time, especially due to the audio limitations of the Mega Drive Genesis console. In 1993, Electronic Games listed the first two Streets of Rage games as having some of the best video game music soundtracks they ever heard, and described Yuzo Koshiro's as just about universally acknowledged as the most gifted composer currently working in the video game field. Notably, the boss theme is considered one of the best boss themes in the 16-bit era and of all time. The reception for the soundtrack was so high that the game's music composer Yuzo Koshiro was invited to nightclubs to DJ the tracks. Okay, let's see. Okay, Streets of Rage 3. I didn't play that one. Streets of Rage 3 is the side-scrolling beat 'em up developed and published by Sega in 1984 for the Genesis. It is the third installment of the Streets of Rage series and the last game in the original trilogy. The game includes several changes of Streets of Rage and Streets of Rage 2, such as more complex plot inclusion, a character dialogue, longer levels, more in-depth scenarios, and faster gameplay. Weapons can be integrated with unique moves with certain characters. Hidden characters were added, and a few cutscenes were included to give the story greater depth. And of course, it was released in the United States March 17th, 1994, Japan March 18th, 1994. I don't know what WW stands for. If anyone knows what that stands for, please let me know. June 1984. Okay, it was later released on it was it was later released for the Japanese version of Sonic Gems collection for the GameCube, PlayStation 2, and the Wii Virtual Console in September 2007. The game also appeared in Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. The game also appeared in in Sega Genesis Classics for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Gameplay. Um, Much like the previous two games, Streets of Rage 3 is a side-scrolling beat 'em up in which up to two players fight against waves of enemies. Players can choose from returning characters, Axel, Blaze, and Skate, along with a new character named Dr. Zan, a robot who automatically converts every weapon picked up into a ball of energy by fulfilling certain conditions. Two bonus characters, Shiva and Rue, known as Victi in Japan, can be unlocked for play, with a third unlockable character, Ash, being exclusive to the Japanese release. Several tweaks have been made to the gameplay following Streets of Rage 2, whereas only Skate was able to run in the previous game. Now each character is able to run as well as perform a vertical dodge roll. Blitz attacks can be upgraded through successive play, and a rechargeable meter allows players to perform a special attack without losing any health when full. Certain weapons now have special attacks that can be performed in the same way as blitz attacks. However, all weapons now have a limited number of uses before they break, and unlockable characters are unable to hold weapons at all. The stages in the game features traps originally featured in the first Streets of Rage, such as bottomless pits, and some stages have alternate routes depending on certain actions, such as whether players can clear a room of enemies before a non-playable character is killed by poison gas. Um, Enemy AI was also expanded so more enemies can pick up weapons, block attacks, employ cooperative attacks, and even steal exposed food items to regain health. Compared to the Japanese version, the Western release of this game features altered graphics and sound effects and increased difficulty, and does not feature Ash as a playable character. Like the previous game, a battle mode lets two players fight against each other. Okay. Okay. So obviously you already know who the players are. Um. Obviously you already know who the characters are and stuff. So I'm not even going to get into that right there. Um. And let's go to the reception right here, man. Um. Aggregator on the game rankings gives it 83%. Review scores publication Electronic Gaming Monthly gives it 29 out of 40. Game Informer 8 out of 10. Game Fan 234 out of 200. Hyper 83%. Mean Machine Sega 83%. Super Jugos 86 out of 100. Video Games DE 77%, Mega 72%, Sega Magazine 90 out of 100. GamePro commented that the game is little different from previous entries in the series, but praised the new moves and support for the 6-button controller. The 4 reviewers of Electronic Gaming Monthly praised the new moves and larger levels, though 2 of them criticized that the soundtrack was well below Yuzo Koshiro's usual standard. Mean Machine Sega said that the game had easily outdone the graphics of the first 2 Streets of Rage games due to the larger sprites, but had failed to significantly advance the gameplay of the series. They concluded it to be over, overall fun and playable, a bit too easy. Digital Press gave it 8 out of 10. Mega said it was uninspiring and easy to finish, but later placed the game at number 25 in their top Mega Drive games of all time. Die Hard fan praised the gameplay and graphics, but took exception to the localization, saying it neutered it neutered an otherwise fine title, advising readers to import the Japanese version or pass it up entirely. Uh, they they also were very critical of the music. Um, in a retrospective assessment, Mean Machines commented that the plot is lackluster and the music takes some getting used to, but the visuals are colorful and beautiful. The levels are varied, and the challenge is more than sufficient. The reviewer concluded, if you've never played any of SOR series before, SOR 2 is probably a better entry point, but be sure to sample this third outing at some point. In a retrospective review, Colin Williamson of All Game gave Streets of Rage a review score of 3 out of 5. He praised the game having flashing new moves for the characters, but criticizing that there is nothing really new in the game, and called the two new characters as stale. He concluded the review stating, if you are in need of more bare knuckle fun, this will suit the bill. Just don't expect to be blown away. Okay. And the last one is it's crazy, man. And the last one is going to be and the last one's going to be Streets of Rage 4, which is crazy. Yeah, so Streets of Rage 4 is a side-scrolling beat 'em up game developed by Dotemu, Lizard Cube, and Guard Crush Games, and published by Dotemu. The game is a continuation of Sega's Streets of Rage trilogy, originally released for the Sega Genesis during the 1990s. It was released for Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Windows, Xbox One, Linux, and Mac OS in 2020, for Stadia in 2021, and Android and iOS in 2022. Streets of Rage 4 received generally positive reviews and sold over 2.5 million copies by April 2021. An expansion, Mr. X Nightmare, was released in July 2021. And yes, and yes, yes, so the releases. Okay, so Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Windows, April 30th, 2020, Linus, Mac OS, November 12th, 2020, Stadia, July 15th, 2021, Android, iOS, and May 24th, 2022. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so carrying on the game style of gameplay, the style of the gameplay from previous entries in the Streets of Rage series from the early 1990s, Streets of Rage 4 is a side-scrolling beat 'em up in which up to 4 players locally or 2 players online fight against waves of enemies, aided by disposable weapons and items pickups. Alongside standard attacks, throws, and blitz moves, each player character has a set of special attacks that can be performed at the cost of some health. In this game, however, players can restore health spent on a special attack by performing successive follow-up attacks without getting hit. Each player character also has a unique super combo. Um, Star moves, which can be performed by collecting stars in each level. A new combo system is introduced along with the ability to juggle opponents against walls and other players, allowing players to earn extra points by stringing together long combos without getting hit. Each character has unique traits such as Max's wall jump and grappling jump, Shiva's weapon, Powery mechanics, and aerial rave, air combo, and Floyd's long range grapple. The main gameplay mode, story mode, sees players going through each level as the story is told, with a stage select unlocked after clearing story mode. Players have a limited number of lives depending on the difficulty setting, but can earn more by earning a certain number of points. If all players lose all their lives, they will have to retry the level from the beginning with the option to use assists that add extra lives and star moves at the cost of a reduced score. Upon clearing a level, players receive a rank based on many points they scored. Points earned goes towards a lifetime score, which goes towards unlocking bonus player characters from past games, presented in pseudo 16-bit style. The game also features arcade mode, which taxes players with clearing the entire game with limited lives, a boss rush mode, and a competitive battle mode, which lets two players fight against each other. The game also features a retro audio option featuring music tracks from both the Mega Drive Genesis and Master System and Game Gear versions of the first two games. The base game features five main playable characters, series veterans Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding, Adam Hunter, who originally appeared in the first Streets of Rage game and is unlocked through playing the story and two brand new characters, Cherry Hunter, Adam's daughter, and Floyd Araya, a part cybernetic apprentice of Dr. Zan, 16-bit versions of characters from the trilogy, including Max Thunder, Skate, Dr. Zan, and Shiva, can be unlocked by raising the lifetime score. These characters feature move sets based on the games they come from. Uh, the Mr. X Nightmare DLC adds three additional characters who appear as bosses in the main story: Max Thunder and Shiva, who were originally playable in Streets of Rage 2 and Streets of Rage 3, respectively, and brand new character Estelle Aguirre. The SOR3 version of Rue can be unlocked through a cheat code. All right, so let's go to the reception. We'll go to the reception right here. Um, all right, so um, Metacritic gives Nintendo Switch 87 out of 100, PC 84 out of 100, um, PS4 82 out of 100, Xbox One 82 out of 100, and 86 out of 100 for iOS. Destructoid 9 out of 10, Easy Allies 8.5 out of 10, Eurogamer Essential Famitsu 34 out of 40, Game Informer 7 out of 10, GameSpot 8 out of 10, IGN 7 out of 10. Nintendo Life gives it 9 stars. PC Gamer US 76 out of 100. Pocket Gamer 5.5 stars. Push Square gives it 7 stars. Touch Arcade gives it 5 stars. US Gamer 4 out of 5. Venture Beat 88 out of 100. Video Gamer.com gives it 8 out of 10. Pure Xbox gives it 9 stars. Streets of Rage 4 received generally favorable reviews according to review aggregator Metacritic. Leo Fearman of the Sydney Morning Herald wrote that the visuals, sounds, and mechanics aren't as envelope publishing in 2020 as the originals were in the early 90s, but the balance between embracing nostalgia and reformulating the brawler for the current decade is struck wonderfully. Excuse me. Heidi Kemps of GameSpot opined the game looks great sounds great. The plays very well, and that even if the experience is relatively short, it's the sort of game you and your buddies can easily enjoy playing and replaying. Michael Huber of Easy Allies stated that Streets of Rage 4 masterfully revitalized the series, describing the combat and soundtrack as high points, but criticized the online components at launch. Dale Driver of IGN wrote that it's still a very conservative update to the quarter century old format that feels like a slave to the past. Come on. Joe Juba of Game Informer agrees that it feels like an homage to the 90s, but it's also stuck in that era. Of course, the game reached number 14 in the UK sales charts. It also reached 20th on the US downloads chart. By September 2020, the game has sold over 1.5 million digital copies worldwide. As of April 2021, the game has sold over 2.5 million copies worldwide. Awards: it gave a gold award from Famitsu. Polygon listed Streets of Rage 4 among the 22 best games on the Switch. It was nominated for Best Action Game at the Game Awards 2020. The Game Awards 2020, but lost to Hades. I don't know what that is. Um, um, it received a Pegasus Award in the 2021 edition for Best Music. In 2023, Time Extension included the game on their top 25 best beat 'em ups of all time list. They called it the best game in the series. All right. Okay. So I want to get to some stuff that's released recently. Um let me see. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay. Um Give me 1 second. Okay, hold on a second. Let's see how much time we got here. 235. Okay. All right, real quick, man. In the month of March, I'm so sorry for being far behind with all this stuff. So for the month of May is Age of Wonders 4, Redfall, Grindstone, Stupid Dungeon Maker, Ravenlock, The Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Maiden, Hogwarts Legacy, um, Darkest Dungeon 2, Weird West. Um, these are for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PCs. Um, Nintendo Switch, and everything else in between. So yes, Weird West, Wise. What is it? Was it Wise? What is it? 11? Is it 11? I'm not sure. Anyway, Monstrum Nox already came out. The Lord of the Rings Hero of Middle Earth, iOS and Android already came out. Death a Treat, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, May 11th. Marvel's Midnight Suns, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Trackmania, of course, Nintendo Switch, Trackmania, Humanity already came out. So both Trackmania and Humanity, PlayStation 5, PlayStation VR 2, Virtual Reality 2, PlayStation 4, PlayStation VR, which is virtual reality, and PC, Ritmos, iOS, Firmament, PC and Mac, Lego 2K Drive, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, Inkbound PC, After Us, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Amnesia, Debunker, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Bread and Fred, PC, Convergence, A League of Legends Story, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Farming Simulator 23, Switch, iOS, and Android. My Miasma Chronicles, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. Planet of Lana, Xbox Series, um, Xbox One, and PC. Star Trek Resurgence, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Hello Neighbor, Search and Rescue, PlayStation VR 2, Quest, PlayStation VR, and PC, virtual reality, Marquette, Nintendo Switch, The Case of the Golden Idol, um, Nintendo Switch, The Lord of the Rings Golem, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Xbox Series, Xbox One, May 30th. Company of Heroes 3 at PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, May 30th. System Shock PC, May 30th. Okay. I will go over what's going on for June and the following episodes. So just stick around for that one. I'm gonna wrap up right here, man. I'm gonna wrap up right here, right now, man, because this has been a long time since I recorded episodes of this podcast review show right here. If you like what you heard in if you like what you heard in today's episode whatsoever, and please feel free to make a charitable donation to I my cash app is G Money Stacks 555. That's $ capital G lowercase MONEY capital STACKZ. And you can also I forgot to add my PayPal too, man. If which is another option too. My PayPal is G Money Stacks, Queens, New York. All right. So um all right, so let's go. We're gonna go to the last segment right here, man. And that's stream choices on the go. Right here, man. Right here, right now, man. Let's do this. Yes, it's been a long time since I recorded. And of course, if you like I said, man, if you enjoy the episode and the reviews and everything else and the discussions, and I do apologize for restarting the Instagram live feed on Instagram for Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. For some reason, I don't know why it keeps cutting off, but I will say you can follow this platform right here, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, on Instagram, alongside with Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast, the sports edition show that I do. And of course, be sure to follow my number one show, which I actually added a word to it, which is Avenue. So it's off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast. Actually, I didn't have room to put Avenue on the username, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. So off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure you follow me on the primary handle of the gram, which is G Money Stacks 555, 555 to be exact, actually, and turn your notifications and and to get details on when each episodes are going to be dropping, and of course everything else in between. And yeah, and listen, if you miss any previous episodes whatsoever, please feel free to download the apps that I am going to go over with you on the link that says Linktree/Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, and starting with Audacity, Audible, Amazon Music, Breaker, Bullhorn FM, Castbox FM, Deezer, Listen Notes, Moon FM Podcast, Player FM, Pocket Cast, Podfriend, Podhound, Podopolo, Podorama, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Podverse, Podcast Guru, Podvine, Spotify for podcasters, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, the number one iHeartRadio, the number one app for music, radio, and podcasts, and of course, Radio Public included. You don't need a debit card to download iHeartRadio or any of the apps whatsoever. So make sure you subscribe on iHeartRadio and the other apps that I just mentioned. Make sure you follow Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast Review Show, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast, and alongside with my other show, of course, Off the Meat Rat Chains New York Avenue Podcast. And I explained in episode 264 on why I added a word to the title of the podcast. So if you haven't heard, I added a word to the title. So there you have it right there. And of course, last but not least, be sure to go ahead and grab that subscribe button on the YouTube channel page of Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, and also do the same with Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast, the sports channel page, and G Money Stacks 555, where you see all the New York episodes on there as well. So be sure to subscribe and turn on and be sure to click on the note and noti bell along with the alerts so you can be reminded of when the show goes on the air via live stream, alongside with the date, the time, and the live stream recording of the podcast episodes. So leave a like and a comment along with the episodes. Make sure you stay tuned for more video content, upcoming episodes, and previous episodes in case you missed any of the episodes whatsoever. Don't worry, everything's all posted and uploaded to every streaming platforms, including the YouTube channels, including this one. So share the episodes, share the videos, listen, stream, watch these episodes, download the episodes, very important too. And be sure to tell a friend to another friend. And also be sure to spread the word. Word of mouth is important. And of course, share the link that says Linktree / Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, that has the list of audio streaming platforms, including YouTube, and the podcast itself, with your husbands, your wives, your boyfriends, girlfriends, friends you're cool with from work, whether you meet them at college classes, festivals, carnivals, amusement parks, birthday parties, block parties, barbecues, wherever. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's going to do it, man. That's going to do it for me on episode 119. Thank you very much. I'm your man, G Money Stacks, aka the Greginator, and of course, Greg, of course. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in and rocking with me and tuning in and listening to episode 119 of the episode. These are the streets of the classic games, which is dedicated to the Streets of Rage games. All right. And remember, the grind doesn't stop. Hard work pays off. You want something, you have to work hard and earn it. And you also want to find your voice. Be you, be yourself. If you're creating a podcast, you also want to make sure you are being yourself as a host, and you also want to be on your P's and Q's on a consistency basis with your episodes and creative topics or whatever. It doesn't matter if it's. It doesn't matter whether it. It doesn't matter if it's. Even if it's. Even if some people may say that it's corny, but it doesn't matter what other people think. Okay, you got to worry about you. You um. Everybody starts from the bottom, as Drake says in his song. In order for you to get to the top, you have to start from the bottom. And on top of that, as a reminder, to all the creators out there who are podcasting, like myself, you also want to have fun with your podcast. You don't need to be, and in the words of Avi Rivera, you have to you have to validate yourself. You don't need people to validate you. You gotta validate yourself. You feel what I'm saying? And I was just talking to somebody about that on Pogacha. Um, you don't need people to validate you, but you have you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like it's a waste of time to look for validation for other people if they're not going to give you the recognition. So it makes no sense. So anyway, um, follow your goals and dreams, and 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 of course, like I said, be on your P's and Q's on a consistency basis. Um, creatively, mentally, physically, and spiritually, that gets you into your zone alongside with tunnel vision. All right. So there you have it right there, man. And of course, don't let anybody tell you on how you should do your podcast, because there's no right or wrong way to do this. All right. You just have fun with your podcast creatively. And you don't really have to necessarily rush into trying to get people on your shows and stuff. I actually tried, but it eventually happens in due time. You feel what I'm saying? So anyway, man, that's gonna do it, man. I'm up out of here. Thank you so much for waiting and your patience. I know y'all probably missed me so much. I was going through some stuff. I needed time to regroup and recuperate and rejuvenate. You feel what I'm saying? So, you know, of course, it's okay not to be okay mentally sometimes, man. We all have our days, man, and everybody's human. You are only human, folks. You know what I'm saying? Don't let anybody fucking tell you otherwise. You just be the best version of yourself, be the best podcaster, host you could be, and wherever career field you do, follow your dreams. Don't let anybody stop you. All right. And don't let any white chocolate fucking Karens give you a hard time, man. All right. So yeah, that's it, man. I'm out of here. Peace and one love. I'll see y'all next time in the next episode. And I hope y'all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. And with the barbecues and everything else, be careful out there and everything else in between. And of course, summer's around the corner. Be prepared to plug in your air conditioners and your summer clothes to be ready, and your hats and sunglasses and all that great stuff right there, man. So there you go, right there. Good night, everybody. Enjoy your Memorial Day weekend and the rest of your week. Nighty night, folks.